Okay, we got the trajectory out to 25 yards with sniper 15 grain pellet. And I'm going to read off and show you what I did here. Here's my aim point right here. And what I did is I aimed at this bottom part of the blue paper the whole time. So there's my aim point. So 5 yards, we got plus 3 1/4 inches high. No, plus 3 1/2 inches high for 5 yards. And then 10 yards, we got 3 3/4. And then 15 yards, we got 4. And then it starts to take a drop at 20 yards at 2 1/2. And then finally 25, a real dive at 2 1/2. No, 2 1/4. What's interesting about this is that if you look right in this cluster right here, you notice that they're all kind of close together. That is going to be your flat part of the trajectory, which is about 1 inch. So anything from anything from 5 to about 15 yards, you're going to get a flat trajectory for a 1 inch target. So that's how you determine your flat trajectories is you shoot something like this at all different distances. I was doing it every 5 yards. So, and then if you look here at this aim point and then down here a little further, you can see that a pop can, if you aimed right here and you hit the center of a pop can, you'd probably hit the bottom of it. And with a little bit of holdover, you could still hit it. So what you learn from this is it's good for a pop can out to 25 yards. And right in this area, it's good for from 5 to 15 yards. It's good for a 1 inch target right in this area. So anyway, what I did is I put the setting on the Daisy 717 at 9, which is almost max on the elevation turret. You never want to max out the elevation turret. Screws start to loosen up, and so does the tolerance, so you don't want to do that. Temperature is 68 degrees. Once again, it was a sniper H&N pellet, 15 grain. And this part I'm going to show you too, which is me shooting it and then showing you what happened to the pellet. So anyway, this is how you determine your trajectory and stuff like that. And in this part of the video, I'm going to give you a lot more detail. Things on like the ballistic coefficient and other things like that on this particular pellet. Now this pellet is probably too heavy for the 717. You know, we're pushing a really big pellet. So far we got a 25 yard velocity verified with the chrony at 254 FPS. I got a chrony point blank range here, so I can tell you guys what the ballistic coefficient is and stuff like that. But anytime you got a pellet going 250 feet per second at 25 yards, it's starting to slow down a little bit. And the other thing is that if you look right here, it's got kind of a loopy trajectory. If we go from the furthest points here, we got 6 1/2 from here to here, which means that that trajectory is very loopy, although we have a flat spot right in here that we could use for 1 inch targets. The other thing too is this is just a quick test here. Usually you would shoot, 3 or 4 shots and then take the center of the group. And another thing too is since the pellet's so big, you might lose a little bit of accuracy, and that's expected. So let me show you what I got at 25 yards here for some accuracy shots here. Okay, now on the 717, if you look at the front right there, that notch right there, that's 5 minutes of angle at 25 yards. So in order to stay steady, like a setup I have here, a table, pistol rest, and something comfortable here. In order to stay steady, what you want to do is you want to match the front sight minute of angle at 25 yards with your target. So this is exactly 5 minutes of angle, or 5 inches by 5 inches. And the reason why you want to do this is because your front sight, you have something to line it up with so that you can stay steady. So this is just strictly for reference. You can shoot smaller targets, but you want to have something that's as wide as your front sight so you have a reference of where you're at so that you can rest that front sight right under here at 25 yards. That's how you can verify the accuracy. So what we got here is, once again, the setting was 9, so it's almost, the elevation's almost maxed out. So what we got here is they took shots of 2 sets of 3, and what we have here is, here's my aim point, by the way, right on the bottom of that black tape. So this one here is coming in at about 1 1/4, and this one here is coming in about 1 1/4. So being that it's a big pellet like that, 1 1/4 inch groups at 25 yards, that's really not too bad because it's heavy, and it might not be the most accurate pellet. But the only limitations of this Daisy 717 is your eyesight. I have gotten before 3 or 4 shots piled up in about a 1/4 inch group before, and 1/2 inch groups that's pretty common. It's all up to your eyes. The only limitation is your eyes. I can make out a 1 inch target at 25 yards with my eyes, but anything more than that I need a little help. And this thing doesn't come with a scope, so it's just factory sights. But you have to give the thing credit because what you're looking at is a very, very short barrel. It comes in about, I'd say about 8 inches, 8.5 inches, somewhere in there. And other barrels are at least twice as long as this. So for the length of barrel and the accuracy, it's insane accuracy for its length for being a shorty. So this will go toe to toe with a lot of air rifles, with longer barrels and stuff like that. And that's only a pistol. So I would recommend getting one of these. I have the 747 also. Now this one's set at the factory at a 3-pound trigger, but really, really sweet, really, really clean, buttery break on this trigger at 3 pounds. It's factory set, and it's 2-stage, so it has a little play in the trigger, and then you can feel the little break after that. Now the 747, that's different. That's single stage, and that one can be set down to 1 pound trigger pressure. And so there's no slack in that one. Once a fly lands on it, it goes off. So, well, that's kind of an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. It's a real smooth trigger. So the difference between the 717 and the 747, the 747's got a Lothar Walther barrel, and they're known for accuracy, and also they clean better. When I clean the Lothar Walther barrel on the 747 and I clean the 717 barrel, I noticed the 717 barrel is a little bit more dirtier. And that's just because of the fact that it's still a good barrel, but it's not a Lothar Walther barrel. So you guys have to realize that. And the other thing about the 747 is it's more of a choked barrel. So it puts more of a rifling bite on the pellets. So the 747, you don't want to use any heavy round nose pellets in the 747, but you can in the 717. The reason why you can is because the rifling isn't as choked in this one as it is in the other one. Now, if I put this same 15 grain sniper round in the 747, I'd have to push kind of hard on the bolt here, and I don't like that. So the 747 is only meant pretty much for wad cutters, match grade wad cutters. It's not really meant for round nose pellets, although you can do it. It's just that you're pushing the bolt and there's a little more tension, which means sometimes it means less velocity if it's too heavy. But yeah, the 717 is the way to go because this will allow you to shoot a wide variety of pellets. And this one will even shoot the bad pellets good. I was really surprised how the gamo pellets and the crosman pellets grouped with this one. This one will turn bad pellets into good pellets sometimes, so you have to keep that in mind. But anyway, I'll get the rest of the video up here with some more details. Okay, so now I'm going to finish up on some details of the 717. If you look on the top there, it says 0.0289. That's the ballistic coefficient. That was done by shooting at point blank range and then shooting over a chrony at 25 yards. So if you guys want to know the ballistic coefficient of that pellet, that's what it is. Once again, this is a 15 grain H&N sniper. It's a very heavy pellet. 283 feet per second at 2.67 foot-pounds, and you can see right there where I hit the piece of wood. And then at 25 yards I shot it, and it went down to 254 feet per second, 2.15 foot-pounds of energy. Didn't lose a lot of velocity, so because it's got a really good ballistic coefficient. Now the penetration of the wood here is on the back, so I'm going to turn this over. The penetration at 25 yards was 1.5 millimeters of wood penetration. At point blank range, it was 4 millimeters. Once again, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Setting was 9. That means that turret on the back of the 717 is almost all the way jacked up, but I leave one notch because I don't believe in going all the way. So sniper 15 grain H&N, and then I showed you earlier in the video the trajectory. And I was talking about how that 5 to 15 yards, the trajectory is really flat. But you'd have to sight it in for 10 yards instead of 25 yards to have it spot on, probably for 1-inch targets from 5 to 15 yards. And then scope height, that's just something for me for my Hawk software. That's just the height from the bore all the way to the center line of like a crosshair or something. I use it with pistols sometimes. I'll measure the center line of the bore to the top of the rear sight and call it scope height, and then I'll enter that into the software. But since I'm in the field, I don't need software that much. I just do real world tests outside, so that helps a lot to get more accurate information. So what I wanted to show you is what the pellet looks like unfired. And there it is right there. Then I want to show you before and after. Now this pellet is a little different than people think it is. They think it's a soft premium lead. It's really not. It's got some antimony in it. So it's kind of like your Crosman pellets. They're real tough pellets. They don't mushroom out that much. They're not soft like Air Arms or JSB or anything like that. All right, so here's point blank range. That's what happened to it. And then here's at 25 yards, and you can tell that there's very little difference in the mushrooming of the pellet. Not that much of a difference because it's a very hard pellet. So, and then let me show you. Put the full size one in the middle there. Yeah, so that's what it would look like right there. So you can tell it hasn't smashed up that much. So it is a very nice looking pellet, and because the pellet does have strength, the antimony or whatever in it, besides the lead itself, gives strength to the skirt of the pellet. However, this pellet is meant for PCP air rifles or pumpers. You can use them in pumpers. I wouldn't use them in spring piston pistols or rifles. It's just a little too heavy. And it's probably a little bit heavy, for single pump air guns and stuff like that. But it's nice to do experiments on heavy stuff. This is the heaviest I've seen anybody go on an experiment for the Daisy 717. If I were you guys, for under $200, the most accuracy you're going to get is probably a Daisy 717 or Daisy 747. The reason why it's the best for accuracy is because you're just using the open sights. There's not even a scope or anything. And you've seen some of the groups, that I could get with even some of the heavy pellets. So the only limitation is really your eyesight. Once you get them you know, the turret elevation and windage, you know, adjusted and stuff. The only limitation is really your eyes. And the old saying is you can't shoot what you can't see. So, but anyway, thank you very much for watching the video.